In 1976, Congress passed a law that would have erased one of the most powerful tax advantages in American history, and by 1980, wealthy lobbying groups had buried it before a single American ever had to follow it. No repeal announcement, no headlines. The law simply stopped existing. By the end of this, you'll understand exactly what they didn't want you to know you were losing. Most Americans who inherit money think the process is simple. A parent dies. They leave you a house or a stock portfolio or a piece of land they bought in 1963. You inherit it. You think you owe taxes on whatever it's gained since 1963. That's what they want you to think. There is a provision in the tax code, quiet, perfectly legal, known to every estate attorney working for families worth over $10 million, that changes everything about that equation. It's called the stepped-up basis. And the story of how it almost disappeared and why it didn't tells you everything about who writes the rules in this country. Here is how it works. Your mother buys a stock in 1970 for $10 a share. By the time she dies in 2024, that stock is worth $300. Under normal tax law, the gain, $290, is a taxable event. You'd owe capital gains on every penny of that profit when you eventually sell, but not if you inherit it. When an asset transfers at death, the IRS steps up the cost basis to whatever it was worth on the day your parent died. $300, not $10. The 60 years of accumulated gain disappears from the tax record. Gone, legal, done. Wealthy families have known this for generations. They hold appreciated assets. They don't sell, they die. Their heirs inherit at the new price, sell immediately, and pay nothing. It's not a loophole in the way people imagine loopholes. It's written directly into the code, on purpose. In 1976, Congress saw it and they moved to close it. The Tax Reform Act of 1976 replaced stepped-up basis with something called carryover basis. Under that rule, the heir inherits the original cost. Your mother's $10 stock, you'd inherit at $10. The entire 60 years of gain stays on the books. When you sell, you pay tax on all of it. It was passed into law, signed. Effective date set for 1977. Then the effective date moved to 1980. Then the Treasury Department said the rules were too complicated to implement. Then, in 1980, Congress quietly repealed the whole thing before it ever applied to a single estate. The stepped-up basis came back, fully intact, as if 1976 never happened. Here's what makes that timeline impossible to explain away. Between 1976 and 1980, the lobbying pressure from banks, estate attorneys, and family offices was unlike anything the tax code had seen in decades. The American Bar Association submitted briefs. Trust companies submitted briefs. Congressional members received direct appeals from constituents worth $50 million or more. The complexity argument, the official reason for repeal, doesn't hold. Canada implemented a similar deemed disposition rule at death in 1972. The United Kingdom moved to a system of inheritance-based capital gains reporting in 1971. Both countries figured it out. The United States couldn't. Now watch what happens with the numbers. The stepped-up basis eliminates somewhere between $40 and $60 billion in federal tax revenue every single year. That's the Congressional Budget Office estimate. 40 to 60 billion annually in gains that existed, were real, were owed under any other reading of the law, and simply vanish because of when and how the asset transferred. The top 1% of estates account for more than half that figure. Roughly $25 billion per year flows to the wealthiest families in America because a law passed in 1976 was never allowed to take effect. That number doesn't appear in most conversations about the deficit. It doesn't appear in most conversations about tax fairness. It disappeared along with the law. The families who benefit from this aren't breaking rules. They're using them. That's what makes this different from fraud or evasion. This is the tax code operating exactly as designed in 1980, by the people who had enough access to make a 4-year-old law stop existing. There have been 3 serious legislative attempts to reform stepped-up basis since then. 1992, 2010, 2021. Each time, the proposal moved through early committee stages and stalled. Each time, the talking points in opposition came from the same cluster of estate planning associations and family office coalitions. Each time, the reform died before a floor vote. The pattern is consistent enough that calling it coincidence requires more faith than most of the conspiracy theories this country entertains daily. Ordinary families inherit assets all the time. Most of them don't know this rule exists. Most of their accountants don't bring it up. The attorneys who know it work for people who already know it. So here's what I want you to sit with. A law was passed, then erased, then locked out of every serious reform attempt for 46 years. The beneficiaries are the same families every time. The mechanism is always the same. Who exactly decides when a law stops existing? And why is the answer always the same people?